guys, James here, thanks for coming to watch, and today is day 2 of the 12 pedals of Christmas. This is the series where I'm going to build my ultimate pedal board, which I've been sort of leading towards for the last few months in the Finding My Tone series, a series that will carry on after this as I develop the pedal board even more. But over this 12 days leading up to Christmas, it's going to be really good fun. Each day I'm going to add a new pedal to the board, talk to you about the pedal, play a little bit with it. In the first video, which you could go and watch now or after this, I'll link it down below in the description, we talked about the actual pedal board itself, the power supply, which is really important, the type of cables you can use, and then the power supply, the pedal board controller, which you don't need to have, but it's great fun, and if you're a gigging musician, it's really useful to have something like the Gig Rig G3, which has lots of effects loops of its own. It allows you to create different pedal loops as such, but you could go and watch that, and as the week goes on and we actually connect more and more pedals to it, I'll actually be showing you how it works. So that's really exciting. So what have we got for today? The first pedal, well actually of course the first pedal is the tuner, but I'm not going to talk much about that. This is the Polytune by TC Electronics. It works fantastically. It's not the cheapest tuner, I think it was 60 or 70 pounds, but it's got a really bright colourful screen, which is very useful, and yeah, it's just a good one with a true buffer, so it doesn't affect your tone at all. But then, what is the first pedal? Well, we could talk very quickly about the sort of signal chain and how pedals work. In my case, with something like the Gig Rig G3, you can actually change the order of pedals and choose certain pedals to come on at in different orders. So it's not as important if you're using something like that. But if you're going to do a conventional type of pedal board without the G3, which most people would, then there is a certain order that works really well to get a really nice signal chain. Good, clean, when I say clean, you know, the tone of the pedals will come out correctly as such. So often people will say the wah pedal should go first, and that includes other filters as well. So a wah is a type of filter. It's like you're sweeping the filter as you use the foot switch. And then you've got things like envelope filters, the Qtron Plus, which is like a auto wah filter with a sweep. It's quite cool. I've got one. It's not going on this pedal board, but I will show it in another video. And things like that you can put right at the beginning. You can actually put them after your fuzz or after your gain, and it will affect them in different ways, so it can be quite interesting to try out. And don't forget ultimately that your order on your pedal board is just as much of a choice as anything else you do. You can play around with it. Then often the next thing that will go on the board is a compressor. You want to compress the signal as it comes in. So again, you can use it at other points in the board, but I prefer it at the beginning. Now I've got a compressor that is the reason I'm using a compressor is generally to add sustain, because I use a lot of clean tones, and it's nice to add a bit of sustain to that. It's also nice to compress a little bit in the sense, when you overdrive an amp, a lot of what you're hearing is actually compression and clipping, but the compression rolls off some of the edges and it's got a really fantastic sound, and that's obviously what a lot of people love with tube overdrive, you know. Now, what's the pedal that I've gone for? It will be no surprise to any of you who've seen much of the channel before that my compressor would be the Cali76 by Origin Effects. This is studio grade equipment. As with everything Origin Effects does, it's incredibly durable, incredibly well made, well designed, well thought out, and just works fantastically well. Now, I've got other Origin Effects pedals. They may or may not go on the board, but I wanted to tell you about another YouTube channel I found, which did a little documentary about how Origin Effects pedals are made. And this channel was surprisingly small considering the quality of the content. I'll go and find it and link it in the description. The guy doesn't know that I'm doing that, but if you do go and watch any of the videos, maybe just comment on his channel that I sent you, that James on Guitar sent you. That'll just be nice for me and good for him. He makes really high quality level documentaries. Obviously some sort of filmmaker, and he does it he's done Origin Effects, he's done some amp companies, boutique amp companies, and boutique guitar companies. I'll find his channel, link it down below. I watched all 7 or 8 of his mini 6 or 7 minute long documentaries all in one go. Really, really, really good stuff. Okay, so at the end of the video, I will play with the compressor on and off so you can see what it does if you're not sure. I'm not going to go into every detail of this pedal. It's quite complicated, as with other Origin Effects pedals, to understand what all of the knobs do. In the end, I read the manual and then I forget what it said. And then I play around with this until I'm happy with the sound, because you know, ultimately I'm not there to learn how to make pedals or anything. I just want it to sound great. But I will do a whole little review video on this one day. Safe to say, I found it to be an impressive pedal that increases the quality of my tone. It may well become part of my always on sound as well. And then secondly, I said I was going to show you how to make some cables. I will obviously just show one little end of the cable that I have to make. So with this Evidence Audio, you get the actual full length of cable, and then you get the little sort of jacks at the end, and it's just a case of stripping off some rubber, twisting a few things, and doing it. So in a minute we'll go over to pedalboard cam, and I'll also just show you how I'm going to start the layout with the gig rig, these first two pedals, and we'll make that one cable, we'll plug this in, but then I'll bring it back over here and we'll just play for a minute through this lovely amp, the classic Reverb Signature with this vintage 1966 Gibson 355, so you can see what it does. Okay, I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I've put the G3 on the board, roughly where it'll be, you know, close, and then the tuning pedal down here. I've just used one of my already made patch cables because I don't want to run out of this stuff, which comes in long lengths. Now I can show you the end. So basically there's a copper wire in there. I'll strip that in a second. First of all, this pedal is going to go up here. It's the first pedal. I'm going to take this down here. I've already made one. This is the return cable, so it'll go into the output of the pedal. That's going to run here, and it's going to go in there. Now I already realised that I should probably make the cables with a bit of slack. So what I'll do is basically run a cable under the board, and then find it here. And then it's going to go into this port here. So it's going to need to come here. So basically I'm adding about 2 inches on either end of the cable, and I'm going to cut that. There. So then what I want to do is take this stripper. I absolutely hate these things and I'm useless at using them. I tend to break cables a lot when I'm doing this sort of thing. But there we go. So you just sort of squeeze, twist, and then pull it off. And then you've got these little copper wires in here. Again, as you'll see, I've probably broken some of them. But what I did with the first cable was I made it, and then I tested it over by the amp just using a couple of pedals. So we'll do the same here, and we'll see if it actually works when we when we need it to. So you just twist those and fold them down the side. As you'll see here, I've lost several of those copper cables, so I might find myself having to do this again if it doesn't work properly. Then we need to take the little black bit off and expose the actual copper at the top. So let's take the black side off, black bit of wire. There we go, that comes off nice and easily. And then again at the end I've got to take the white bit off. It's not so easy. And it often happens that you're just cutting off the actual copper as you go along, so I'll try that again. I'm sure this is not the most interesting thing you wanted to see, but ultimately it's important. And just so you can see that someone as terrible as I am at it can get it done in the end. And then often I end up just sort of biting the white cable off, but I'm going to try and get it. Okay, it's nearly there. Oh dear. Many of you would do a much better job at this. Just need to get a bit more of this stuff off. This actually turned out a bit better when I did it off camera, but Hopefully I'll be fast forwarding this for you. I'm just taking it off camera so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm now left with this bit of cable here, the copper at the end, and I've twisted these. This doesn't look anywhere near as good as the one I did earlier, so I'm not certain that it's going to work, but just so you can see what would happen, you then have this tip, unscrew it from that. I'll put that bit to one side. Down in here, you won't see it, but there's a little hole. Just going to straighten this out properly. It's a really tough bit of copper. It feels very good quality. This goes in there. I think I'm going to have to cut this all shorter because there's not enough. Because it's too long and these strips of copper that are wrapped around the top aren't actually reaching the... So I've cut it down again and I'm going to have to strip that end. I won't make you wait to watch this. Oh, that worked a bit easier that time. Right, let's see if that one worked. Okay, so that felt like it slotted in. It's actually, I can actually pull that and it won't come out. So it just goes in even if you're as crap at this as I am. And then you use this to cover the wire, and I'm making sort of angled cables, so I'll be turning this in a second like that, and then I can actually and it's just a little bit fiddly, but really it's not that bad if you're doing it without it having to be on camera. Okay, I'll fast forward the other end. Okay, that was pretty rubbish. So let's see if it actually is the right length. Yep, so that was plenty of length. I might actually find myself, as I finish up the board, just cutting it down again. But I'm happy with that for now. I need to test both those cables again just to make sure they work. So when I do the demo in a second, I'll have done that. But a lot of you will do a better job with that than I will if you're used to stripping stuff. I'm not. And I find these very small for decent sized hands, these strippers. Right, let's go and play something. Okay, you can see that I've used one cable here going to the compressor, another one from the compressor just to this pedal, just to make sure it's working. I'll turn the amp on and I'll just strum something on the guitar. That will tell us if it works. Yep, those cables have worked, which is good news, and I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so you had my obviously very useful cable making demonstration there. I'm sure it will get easier over time, but the cables do work, as you saw. So I'm going to put up the settings of the amp and the pedal, and I'm going to just show you what it's like with no pedal on, like this. That's what it's like without. It's a lovely mellow sound. In terms of playing, it doesn't have a lot of squidge and sponginess to it. And the sustain is not really there, which could be exactly what you want. And sometimes it is what I want. And then sometimes I'm going to use this as a boost, so it's going to get louder, which is good because I play a lot with my fingers. It's going to even out the sound a little bit, which can be good and it can be bad depending on how dynamic you want to be. In recording, I find that what I think sounded good live just sounds like sloppy playing. So sometimes the compressor will help for that. So yeah, let's see what that's like. So it just gives you a bit of a blanket, really. It allows the movements like this. Yeah, that's basically why I like a compressor. I think we'll get the most out of it as the week goes on and it's got other pedals after it. I'll show you a little bit more how it works, how it can help to play around with the tones that come out of the other pedals as well. And really, as a clean boost, it's fantastic. It's the cleanest boost. But it also gives you the option to make it a slightly dirty boost with a bit more clipping, a bit more compression. And it just makes any recording sound fantastic. So there we go, first pedal on the board. This is actually a pedal that could be run at 18 volts. I'm not going to be able to use it at 18 volts at the moment, so that's a shame. But if you do buy this pedal, have a think about getting a power supply that has 18 volt capability. So there we go. Tomorrow we'll get to the first real pedal. Compression's a real pedal, but you know, we're getting into the fuzz next, which I love. So if you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you enjoy the rest of the series. I'll see you next time. Cheers.